is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Welcome everyone in, and we are getting some information on the story of the day, and that is Byron Cowart. He committed earlier to Auburn University, and then it all began to hit the fan. He then began meeting with his principal, his high school coach, and do I understand correctly, according to Derek Tyson, is that correct? That he is sending in his letter of intent as we speak to Auburn. So the suspense is about to end, and we will update you when we have confirmation of that. But according to Derek, this long nightmare for both programs, this day of anxiety, it's been about 6 hours since it first began, is about to be over. We will update you as soon as we know for sure. Certainly, in the scheme of life, it's only a couple of hours. In the world of high school recruiting, it's a lifetime.
It's a lifetime. And you think about, look, the ability to be a great coach hinges on the ability for you to have great players and good players. And that's why we cover this recruiting thing so hard. And that's why we talk about, we rank guys, and it's so important for us to keep track of what they're doing throughout the year and what school they'll be going to. He's the number one player in the country in high school. It's a big deal for either, it would have been a big deal for either Auburn or Florida to have him or to not have him. And your program goes on regardless of if the guy signs with somebody else, but this is huge for Auburn. If you think about the University of Auburn and where they are right now, they're a defense away from being one of those schools that compete for national championships every single year from what they have the ability to do. So, Cowart, congratulations, man. You know, it's time to get to work.
Yeah, according to Derek, he's going to Auburn. He just hung up with him. He is supposed to fax it at 4. I don't know why he can't just go ahead and fax it. But that will almost, it's almost over, according to Derek Tyson, who has been our recruiting expert here for several weeks. It's when we zoom in on Auburn in a couple of minutes, and we look at that famed Sanford Hall, and we see 3 puffs of white smoke billowing out, then we will know this day is over.
It's over.
But it's a big pickup.
P-Town, let me tell you something, though. For every one of these kids that have the ability to go to school for free and play football and have this opportunity, I'm glad he took some time. I'm glad he didn't say, well, because they're 17, they're 18 years old, and they get it wrong. And that's what we have to start understanding as adults, that, you know, we make decisions usually based on other people. These guys in this moment can be selfish and say, I'm going to take my time and decide where I want to spend the next 3 to 4 years. And what are the ramifications of that? An education, the potential to play on a national championship football team and compete at the highest level. But also, what probably 99% of these guys in this position think about, how well would I be set up to play in the NFL? And what will this do for my draft status and my family if I have the potential to be drafted into the NFL? So it's a huge decision. I'm glad he took his time, but I'm glad he's come to one.
Okay, and again, on that story, Auburn has yet to receive the fax, even though Cowart is saying he is going. So not over yet, but it is certainly closer to being over than it was 6 hours ago when the young man made it official that he's going to Auburn. But these are the stories that when you watch this all day long and it seems never ending, you take a deep breath, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter a lot because most people don't watch this all day long. Most people go to work. Yeah. At the end of the day, they get in the car or they get home and they say, well, how did everyone do? They're not living this second to second like we are.
It shows you, though, the dynamic of where college football is now. This is the draft for college football. This is potentially a make or break time of the year for your football team. And for people to be interested and excited about it, especially with the number one guy in the country maybe in limbo about what he's going to do, it's very interesting to see what happens. And I think that played a lot into why we followed this story.
I think we're making a mistake, though, in college sports. We need to send this to wherever in the South that's centrally located, and let all the fans show up. And let people boo and cheer, and when Coward hasn't signed it, let him be harassed.
It would be quite a show.
It
would be cool. It would be cool. I'm pretty sure his Twitter handle blew up today when he didn't have his LOI, letter of intent, in.
I hacked it and forwarded all of his tweets to your account.
I'm gonna check them out right now.
We're going to head to Tuscaloosa in a few minutes to get the take from Kaylee Hartung. Let's get some reaction in and around the country on what has been going on. We start with Tony in California. Tony, thanks for the time. Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing, Paul? I just want to talk about Florida and Brian Coward. I know that you guys just said that he's going to Auburn reportedly, but I feel like
that's what we're being told for the second time today.
Yeah, my biggest fear as a Florida fan when Muschamp left was, Florida, when they had Muschamp, was big defensively. They always had like a top 10 defensive class, and I felt like when they got Jim McElwain, sometimes you see they go from being really defensive to really offensive, and they kind of just slack on the defensive side of the ball. But I feel like with the recruiting class,
that does normally happen imperceptibly, but I don't think that's necessarily the way it really happens. Anyway, we'll continue to follow that. He has now told one of our reporters he's going to Auburn at 9:30 today. He told the entire world that he was going to Auburn when they get the letter of intent. And by the way, where do you find a fax machine that even works nowadays? Mine doesn't. Let's go to Tuscaloosa right now. I think you know this young lady, Kaylee Hartung, who is in the war room in Tuscaloosa. Kaylee, I'm sure it's been quite a day for Nick Saban and the Crimson Tide.
Well, Paul, not so much the war room that I'm hanging out in, because there really isn't one. Coaches today have been in their respective offices taking care of their own business, which in most cases means talking to recruits who we'll all be talking about a year from now, that 2016 class. The fact is this 2015 class was wrapped up long ago. There really weren't any surprises. There wasn't anybody, guys were sitting on pins and needles waiting to see how their decision would come down. This class was going to go at its own rhythm, to the beat of its own drum, whatever analogy you want to use. No decision that was made today would make or break this class. These guys knew what they had. So since there's no war room to hang out in, I'm hanging out in the Players Lounge. I just got beat by Blake Barnett, the #1 quarterback prospect in the country, in a rousing game of Pop-A-Shot. Nobody's surprised I lost that one. Deontay Thompson tried to fool me in a game of pool that really came down to the wire. That one was a draw. I think a rematch is definitely in order.
Kaylee, this big bro, have you set up in your apartment in Tuscaloosa yet? Have you officially moved there yet?
She's living in mine.
I'm waiting on the best real estate deal I could find down here in Tuscaloosa. I had to give up that apartment I got in Tupelo, halfway between Oxford and Starkville at some point in the season. The next move is to Tuscaloosa. But now I've found a place in Lexington, Kentucky, because that's where I've been spending the majority of my time in basketball season.
Well, Kaylee, if you drive about 50 miles from there, I can set you up in a really nice house and make you an offer. Thanks, Kaylee. Appreciate it. We'll be coming back to you. And by the way, there is a war room. It's right behind Nick Saban's office, and no one goes in there.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
One of the hot recruiting classes in the country is in Big Orange Country, Knoxville, Tennessee, where Tony Barnhart is located right now. Tony, thanks for joining us. And what's the scene on Rocky Top?
Well, Paul, I got here at 6:30 this morning to set up for National Signing Day, and I saw a bunch of your friends outside here getting ready in the cold, and they were absolutely rewarded with a top 4, top 5 recruiting class. You and I talked about this yesterday. Even though Tennessee's been 12-13 the last 2 seasons, you'd be hard-pressed to find a set of fans that's more excited than the ones at Tennessee.
Tony, just in terms of what went right today, and it seemed like almost everything, give us what you think was the biggest story of the day in Knoxville.
Well, I think there were a couple. I mean, number one, things were rocking along, no surprises, nothing unexpected. And about 10-10, Khalil McKenzie, a big defensive tackle out of California, son of Reggie McKenzie, former great Tennessee player, he signed. And then about maybe 8 or 9, 10 minutes later, Drew Richmond, big offensive tackle from Memphis, a kid that had committed to Ole Miss way back in September, took a visit to Knoxville over the weekend. He flipped. He signed with Tennessee. Butch Jones wore a bow tie because he had promised Drew Richmond that if you sign with us, I will wear a bow tie on National Signing Day. He did it. So those two signees right there, and then they got Sharon Jones, a 4-star quarterback out of California, gives them 3 4-star quarterbacks. That little stretch were the big headlines of the day.
Good to see a Georgia graduate talking nice about Tennessee.
Hey, it's your alma mater, Paul. I mean, come on.
Thank you, Tony. Really appreciate it. The reason why I was so quiet where Tony was standing is because Butch Jones is not far behind him in a room speaking to the media as we speak.
Compared to other recruits you've gone after over the years?
Well, Preston is very confident and flamboyant at times, but I think that's what makes him the player that he is. He has great confidence, has a great skill set. He believes in his ability, and usually the great ones are wired that way. You know, they have a self-confidence about themselves and expectations to be the best that you can possibly be, and Preston expects to be the best every time he steps on the field.
Have you spoken with him much about his injuries? I know he's wanting to be back by August. It doesn't seem like that's medically possible, but what has he said to you about that?
He expects to be back ready for the first game, and that's kind of who Preston is. He believes that, and I think Preston's capable of doing anything he puts his mind to.
Which you know your number one quarterback is with these young guys coming in. Is this something in terms of naming a number 2 guy? Would you go through that process and wait till the very, right at the start of the season to do that?
Yeah, we'll see how they develop, and if one individual out of the 3 separates themselves, and if they're worthy of being named the number 2 quarterback, we'll be able to name them the number 2 quarterback. But, you know, I think, having Quentin here and having Juwan here will benefit them for spring football. They'll get a ton of repetitions. And then Sharon is extremely bright, very intelligent, very confident. So it should make for a great August camp.
Which how much did what Nathan and his kind of process or decision process to leave was that weighing into bringing in a third quarterback and trying to?
Yeah, you know, Nate and I had a discussion right at the end of the season, and you know, very excited for him. And we told him we'd help him in that process. But I think anytime you can sell that you have 1 quarterback on scholarship, I think that's a very attractive spot for a number of individuals, and that's been evidenced through this recruiting process.
You've got some preferred walk-ons coming that pass on other D1 offers. How did you pull that off and get them to come here and pay their own way?
That's another element of building a football program. You can't just build a football program off of 85 scholarship players. Our walk-on program is critical. We saw, you know, what Alex Ellis has brought to the table in terms of a walk-on, now on scholarship, Devon Swafford. So the walk-on element is very big for us. And being able to attract a couple of these individuals to be able to walk on and turn down other scholarship offers was very big for us. And again, it was opportunity and relationships as well.
How important was your relationship with the Abernathy family, with Micah? And
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the relationship with that family.
The Abernathy family is like family to me. And we've been through a lot together. Obviously, we recruited their older son at Cincinnati, and now to have Micah here. But, you know, this is a relationship that's been in place for a number of years. And obviously, they know what they're getting with us. They know our family. They know our entire coaching staff. So, again, they had 0 unknowns with our coaching staff here at Tennessee. They know how we run our program. They know what to expect. And they wanted their son to be a part of it again, and looking forward to having Mike in our football program.
A lot of enthusiasm there, a little bit different, but he has beaten Spurrier twice, and he looks like he is thinking about nothing but winning and winning championships.
Butch Jones has the right mentality. He's that coach right now with the flavor. He's the guy that is very impressive to these young athletes. He's the guy that can speak the language. We spent time with him on Rocky Top, and I had the opportunity to go and see his watch collection while we were at school, and just the ability to communicate with myself and just talk in a very general and basic way. We talked about football. We talked about the excitement level that's brewing there at Tennessee, and I think he's selling that as well as any coach in the country, and I think it's a byproduct of having guys commit to this university and making them better. And they have a wealth of talent. They're one of the schools in the SEC without big questions at quarterback position. They feel like Dobbs is going to be a top elite quarterback in the SEC this year. So, everything is on the uptrend for Tennessee, and Coach Jones is the guy that can communicate. He can facilitate to these guys. He can get them to buy into the program and understand that, hey, if you need to speak down to me and we need to get on each other's level and communicate about anything, I'm that guy, and that sells when you recruit.
And it never ends at Auburn. Now that we've had confirmation that Calvert's the number one player in the country, has committed. We were waiting for the press conference to begin. There are technical issues at Auburn. Yeah, you can fill in the jokes, but why fill in jokes when you can go to Auburn, right outside of Auburn, to Reeltown and speak to Charles?
How y'all doing today?
What's up, Charles?
I tell you what, little swaggy, I'll talk to you tomorrow. We got a lot to catch up on.
Okay.
I want to talk about recruiting today. I want to talk about the great recruiting job Auburn's done. They have done a great recruiting, see. And I want to ask y'all that the second team at ESPN over there, Greg McElroy and him, reported wrongly that the top three, that it was going to be Byron Calhart when he committed, C.C. Jefferson, and Jeffrey Holland. Now, I want to know what happened to C.C. Jefferson.
Well, C.C. went to Florida.
Yeah.
Did he really?
Charles, yeah, he really did. I'm sorry to report that.
I'm glad. I'm sorry you reported it too. Why didn't you? You didn't have to tell me that. But anyway, with a recruiting class, the great offensive mind in college football, and the greatest defensive mind in college football has laid the foundation for a dynasty.
You get the impression Charles, slow down. Okay, we're trying to give information here. This isn't.
Y'all can't keep up with me.
Well, no, we can't.
I just said they're going to start this is going to be the basis of the foundation of it.
I don't. We agree, Charles. I think Auburn is in really good shape after an 8-5 season.
First of all,
they're going to start a dynasty.
I love hearing from you.
Dynasty is going to last.
Charles, you have to win a championship before you can start a dynasty. You just can't start a dynasty from osmosis.
And Nick Saban's dynasty is going to go down. And all I can say to little Nicky Saban is, you're going to have to stand up and tell you like a man.
He's no longer interested in you. He wants Saban. Let's get some more reaction. And Jay is in Gainesville. I imagine a place feeling a lot better than a couple of days ago. What's up, Jay?
How you doing, Paul?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, I'm doing great. I spent basically the entire day following the whole recruiting situation on Twitter. And first of all, I just want to say go Gators. Second of all, I want to say that I think we fired a bit of a warning shot at the SEC today, and maybe that school in Tallahassee too.
Pretty important.
And I wanted to say I was very impressed with the job that McElwain did, but it's also very important to develop that talent, as you've seen in the Muschamp era. You could pull in these top 10 classes every single year.
Jay, that's a great point I want to ask Marcus about.
Yeah.
Muschamp recruited well.
Yeah, he did. And
didn't end well, though.
His area of expertise, he developed those guys to be great players.
He did.
Listen, when you look at a coaching staff, okay, and Paul, I don't know if we've talked about this with each other as many times as we probably should have, but every level of football that I played on after high school, college and pro football, it was the defensive unit, it was the offensive unit, it was the defensive coaches, offensive coaches. And the head coach was kind of like the manager of all of that. Mm-hmm. And in order to develop players, your position coaches and that defensive coordinator, your position coaches and that offensive coordinator, their job is to develop talent. They see you more. They watch more film on you as a particular player than anybody else. So for them to have the ability to put you in position to be successful, that's their area of expertise. Florida knew what they had with Coach Muschamp. They knew they had a defensive-minded coach that was going to develop guys on defense to play great defense, and that's exactly what they did. McElwain's an offensive coach. So now the brass at Florida and everybody that's in Gator Nation expect them to have a great offense. But it goes without saying, Kurt Roper came in with his hair on fire, and we expected this offense to take off and be as great as we thought they would be because of what he did at Duke. And it didn't happen. It's the coaches putting guys in positions to make plays. And when you don't have a guy making the right decisions and playing the way that you expect them to play, you have to pull them. Did they stick with Driscoll too long? Absolutely. That's coaches. That's what coaches do as well as anybody. That's their job. So I think if they have both of those guys on the same page and coaching their respective units, they'll be fine.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
It was 2 years ago that a lot of people in my business had their jaws dropping and their tongues wagging at the job that our next guest was doing at the University of Mississippi. He's doing it just as well, maybe under different circumstances, considering the Rebels have already proven it on the field. I mentioned an upset over Alabama and a win in the Egg Bowl. That's usually enough to retire a coach in Oxford, but Hugh Freeze doesn't show any signs of that. Good afternoon, Coach. I hope the day has gone well.
Hey, Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I imagine reading the reports you're feeling pretty good as well.
Yeah, it's this day is certainly one that you look forward to with anticipation of bringing a new crop of athletes and student athletes into your program. And it's a lot of hard work that goes in on the part of your coaching staffs. You look forward to giving them a few days to go be with their wives and kids, but we're excited about the results today for sure.
You've had great success. You're known as one of the truly remarkable recruiters, not to give your secrets away on national television, but how do you approach it every year? I know it's a continuum.
Yeah, it's. I think we're probably not much different than most schools in this conference. We have a 12-month plan that began again today as we sat around. That 2016 plan is well underway. And, we try to be just dogmatic and very consistent in building those relationships. And, we think our niche is developing young men first and players second. And that's something that we put a high priority on. And that really attracts certain types of kids and families and, probably does not attract some. And that's probably the way every school is. They have strengths and weaknesses, and we try to play to our strengths, make sure we strategically place the right recruiters in the right spots and try to identify the folks that we may have some inroads to, like a DeMarcus Lodge today, who, found out early that he was from Mississippi, originally, and that gave us a great in to go get one of the nation's best receivers.
Coach Freeze, Marcus Spears here, man. Congratulations again on a great year.
Thanks,
Two-part
Marcus.
question for you, though. I know Laramie Tunsil went down with his injury. How has his progression been? And what are you guys thinking about him going into next season? And, Coach, we talked about how dynamic you guys were defensively. I want to know if the recruiting process led you to try to get a more explosive run game offensively, and was that a big emphasis of importance while you were going through this recruiting process?
Laramie's doing good. I just saw him before I came up here. He's still on his scooter, getting around the place. I refer to him as old man now, but he is. All the X-rays look good, and Laquan Treadwell had the same break, and Laquan is running now and doing really well. So we anticipate an athlete like Laramie coming back just fine from it. Excited to have him back for another year, and hopefully he'll have a healthy campaign. As far as the running game issues, certainly that's always on our mind. We have every offensive line returning, and we had mid-year enrollee Javon Patterson, who I think is one of the nation's best and a terrific kid that's going to fit with us really nice. And then getting Alex Gibbons and Michael Howard, 2 tackles, and we're going to move Jeremy Liggins into tackle from tight end, which is hopefully going to give us more depth in the offensive line. We'll have to continue to address that at mid-year signing next year. It's not exactly where I want it. But one of the biggest things we did is sign Eric Sweeney, who I think is one of the most balanced running backs in the nation with great vision and understands the tempo of runs and is a tremendous finisher. And I think he's going to help us a lot in that regard also.
Coach, one more question. I thoroughly enjoyed the Land Shark defense, obviously, and I know, you pulled Kim Dichie to Ole Miss as the #1 recruit. I have a huge question for you because we talk about leadership every year in football, and it gets so overblown. But who's going to replace guys like Cody Pruitt and Shackelford? Who's going to take on that role of leading these guys for the expectation that you guys and the standard that you set last year, as well as you play defense? Who are those guys that you're looking to this year to lead like that?
C.J. Johnson, Mike Hilton, who are both 3-year starters, are going to assume leadership roles immediately, along with Isaac Gross, who's a 3-year starter also that is back. Denzel Kimdichie will be back from his injury at linebacker that should provide us great leadership also. And really excited about Chief Brown, who's coming back for his senior campaign after breaking his leg last year also, and I think he's going to be a tremendous leader. And I think this year's Hall of DBs would arguably be put up against any that's ever been signed in Ole Miss history with the guys we've signed, the long corners like Cam Ordway and Tony Bridges, and the safeties like Armani Linton and Custis, and the guys that we signed, this year in that DB class, I think are extremely, extremely talented.
Coach, as we wrap up, I know you were probably too busy Sunday night to watch the Super Bowl halftime show, but did you take any pride that Ole Miss's #1 fan, Katy Perry, knocked him dead during halftime?
I did. I was really excited to see her dancing with the Land Sharks on stage there.
I think that was the key to your recruiting class this year.
Well, every little bit helps in this day and age, for sure.
Well, Coach, I know you have things to do. Thanks for your time, as always.
Thanks,
Thank you very much, Paul.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Another big recruiting class was in Texas, in Austin, but also in College Station. Casey Smith caught up with Kevin Sumlin.
I'm here with head coach of Texas A&M, Kevin Sumlin. Coach, another extremely impressive recruiting class, 11 ESPN 300 signees today. How do you feel like you stacked up against the rest of the SEC?
It's every year we look at it and we do pretty well, but, when you're 4th or 5th in your own league, sometimes in your own division, you got work to do. We're happy. I think what we've had to do is try to stack our classes back to back to back. As I said before, this is not only a talent league, but a talent and depth league. We had a lot of guys that played last year, 10 or 14 of the freshmen that we signed. The good thing about that is there'll be sophomores this year with some experience, but a lot of these guys will come in and help us out next year and create the depth that we need, I think, to really, really step our game up and compete for championships.
And one of those guys that really creates depth for you guys, a lot of drama kind of surrounding his name before today, but with Dalen Mack signing for you guys, how does that help address your needs on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, I think, the last 2 years we've gone out and gotten the top guy outside, Myles Garrett, who had a phenomenal freshman season, rushing the passer, broke Jadeveon Clowney's record. So he came as advertised for us last year. And then Dalen Mack, who's a similar type of talent inside, we're going to have that same kind of push from him. And there's a number of players that we signed today. Justin Evans, some of the guys who got here mid-year who are going to have an impact. Justin Evans was the #1 or #2 free safety in the country, come out of junior college. Guys that can come in, really give our defense what we need to help Coach Chavis out and put the talent on the field that's necessary, but the depth on the field to go along with a scheme that can make us successful.
And when you talk about John Chavis, how important was he throughout this recruiting process?
Really important. We took our time in that process, and then once he came aboard, he's done a great job in recruiting and visitations and even here on in official visits to explain schemes to guys. And I know that he's has built the relationship with some guys in those couple weeks, and certainly was important, particularly in the closing of Dalen Mack.
And last but certainly not least, Kyler Murray officially becoming an Aggie today. How important is it to you to have another top quarterback prospect on your roster?
Well, it's real important since we only got 2 on scholarship right now, but they're 2 really good ones. Kyler is arguably one of the better players to ever play in the state of Texas at quarterback. Statistically, 43 wins in a row, 3 state championships at the highest level you can play. Just a phenomenal talent, and he brings to the table winning, and being able to do that. Some guys just have a knack for that. So, he's a guy that his dad played here, and a legacy. a guy that we're happy to have, a guy we got settled down, another one of those guys in recruiting that made things interesting at the end, but chose to be an Aggie for all the right reasons.
Congratulations on a successful day, Coach.
All right, thanks a lot.
So that's the latest from Texas A&M. This is the latest on the classes. Alabama, number 1 in the country. Tennessee, 5th. Auburn, 8th. Georgia, 9th. LSU, 10th. A&M, 12th. Mississippi State is at 16. Missouri at 18. Ole Miss, 19. This is in the country. Florida, all the way up to 20th. They were ranked 102 by one service a week ago. South Carolina, 21, and Arkansas, 22. You talk about Spurrier. I hate to pile on my old friend, but he ends up possibly finishing a notch behind Florida after many experts. We had Stuart Mandel yesterday, others from various publications close to writing off Jim McElwain. You don't want to finish behind Florida this year if you think you're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, well, you can't discount Florida, though, because it's still the University of Florida. It's still Gator Nation. It's still so much pageantry around that university, and for Florida kids, the University of Florida is always relevant. And when you think about the changes that they've made as far as firing Will Muschamp and getting McElwain in, you have to believe that most of those guys believed in the University of Florida, believe that if they go to that school, they'll have the opportunity to play great football. And that's probably what it was about more than McElwain. I mean, he'll get the credit because he's the head coach and he came in and he had a short window to recruit guys. But for them to have a class like this is University of Florida.
The biggest offseason hire in all of college football was Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and he struggled.
Yeah.
He came in about 3.5 weeks later.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Dan Mullen joins us. He knows about big-time defensive players. We've been talking about it. Coach Mullen, congratulations on another big recruiting class. How do you feel as we head toward the first night?
Well, we feel pretty excited. We think, obviously today getting Leo Lewis, getting the number 1 linebacker in the country on signing day is obviously a huge get here at the end for us. But we had a bunch of really good players come in and sign with us today, and we're really excited about the future and what it holds for us.
Coach Mullen, great year this year, man. That front seven was stout. Marcus Spears here. Is that an area of focus? I mean, I know you alluded to signing number 1 linebacker, and I know what McKinney meant to your defense. Was that the focus this year? I know you have some pieces to fill on the offensive line and in the backfield, but that defense, in my opinion, created a lot of success for the football team. Was that a main focus when you hit the recruiting road this year?
Well, I think it was because we were going to lose so much. We had a good feeling Benardrick would leave to go to the NFL draft. Matt Wells leaving at the linebacker spot. P.J. Jones, Caleb Ewells, Preston Smith on the defensive line. When you lose all those guys, obviously they're hard to replace. So one of the things we do is hopefully we have the depth within the program. We went out and got a lot of depth on the defensive line at the linebacker spot with guys like, Leo Lewis, as we said, Trevor Jung, Tim Washington. You look up front with Anthony Mullins from over in Alabama, really athletic defensive end. That sort of stuff. Kendall Jones comes in at defensive tackle. Fletcher Adams, one of the top D tackles in Mississippi and in the country. To get those guys on board was really huge for us to continue to have the depth that you need to play in this league.
Yeah, Coach, I totally agree. And when you were at Florida, you were part of some of those great recruiting classes. Do you think the success that you guys had this year played a big factor in being able to land some of these top recruits? And what's the vision that you have for Dak Prescott? Will it be more on his shoulders this year to carry the offense? So I guess a 2-part question, but I'm very interested to hear your thoughts.
Well, first off, I think it certainly helped us, with all these young men then looking at because what they've got to see is we've been able to build a program here. We've been able to build facilities. They look at, I think a lot of players look at player development and how we've been able to develop players where, guys that maybe weren't huge signing day names like Preston Smith and Benardrick McKinney now have the opportunity to do first-round draft picks. I think you put that together with the success we had on the field where, we got to be number 1 in the country. We're in discussions for the national playoff where you can do that here at Mississippi State. I think that certainly helps us that kids know not only are they going to get developed here, not only are they going to get their degree and graduate, they're also going to have the opportunity to compete for championships. I think that certainly helped us. And
Dak's development, we're going to continue to grow with Dak's development. I expect to, he's a guy that always is working. He's going to be working and hopefully, higher completion percentage next year. A guy making quicker, faster decisions, more accurate throwing the ball. Great leadership out there on the field. And I think he'll even have more command of the offense next year.
Thank you, Coach. We appreciate your time as always.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, great to be with you guys. Have a great day.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Coach Derek Mason joining us from Vanderbilt, getting ready for his second year. Coach, thanks for the time. How do you feel about this incoming class? Can it help you turn the corner?
Well, thank you, Mr. Finebaum. I feel great. This class is a class of 18. When you look at this class, we covered 12 different states. It's headlined by, Josh Smith, Donovan Sheffield, and, Kyle Shermer. And three, tremendous gets, and for us here at Vanderbilt. They fit who we are. They're cornerstones, and for what we feel is going to be, an extremely strong class that, gives us depth, athleticism, and speed. And so, for us, we're extremely excited about where we are and what we were able to accomplish coming down the stretch.
Yeah, your club, to be honest, was almost difficult, impossible to watch last year at times. That's my view. I would imagine it wasn't much easier for you.
Well, it started out rough, and that happens. It took us a while, to learn the landscape of what was going on and really utilize our personnel. But I think if you look at the game versus Tennessee, a team that has tremendous talent late in the year, what you found, when you tuned into that game was, a football team and that flew around defensively, that showed some signs of offensive life in terms of playmaking capabilities. And then that game was decided by, the special teams touchdown. So, I'm truly excited in terms of where we are, where we're going, and what this class looks like for us just in terms of solidifying our depth and trying to move us forward.
Coach, Marcus Spears here. You may not be able to see me. I don't have the bureau cam on my face, but
okay.
I really wanted to ask you what was your pitch this year to guys that you went into these homes and you had to sell these guys on something, and obviously you didn't have the year you wanted to have on the field.
Right.
Did you tell them that they could be a part of the building process? Was it an important thing to let them understand that this program and this university can be one of those programs that you guys are watching win football games? What was your pitch and sell from you and the other coaches? What was that plan of attack in the recruiting?
Well, the pitch was in Vanderbilt University and what it is. Obviously, when you look at programs across the country, it's year by year, just in terms of, how you look at them. But, I can remember, just watching TCU a couple of years ago in terms of where they were, and then they went 4-8, and then they bounced back. And I think that's where our program is. And looking at our program, Vanderbilt, University is definitely the sell in terms of being in the SEC, the education. Those two things are really, really tough to actually pass by. But, guys who actually spent the last 12 months with us through this recruiting process, saw us. They saw our ups and downs. They saw, changes made, staff changes. And I know, the biggest thing for me is that I'm a defensive guy. I think one of the biggest sells, for us, we're making some changes at the top. Obviously, Andy Ludwig, is extremely good at what he does. And, when I look at me, I cut my teeth on defense. I'm back to calling defense. This is what I do. This is who I am. I think, we've got two of the best. When you talk about, Coach Ludwig and myself, together paired, and kids bought that along with the education. They truly, see us going exactly where we want to go. I think this recruiting class is somewhat of a testament to it in terms of the marquee players that are in it. And I think the building blocks that are in this class in terms of what it looks like up front offensively and what we did in terms of our speed and athleticism at backer give us a chance to be better on special teams. And when you talk about offense, defense, and special teams, you got to be better in all three phases.
Coach, best wishes. I appreciate your honesty, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, thank you.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Game day brings out the best in all of us. At Regions, every day is game day. Regions, the official bank of the SEC, and I'm joking about
together.
Regions. I love Regions.
Get it together, brother. Get it together. I thought Regions had cut you a check or something before you read that.
Regions is my bank. I love them. Let's go
Get it together, Pete Town.
Let's go to Andy in Ohio next up on this National Signing Day. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Marcus, would you like to take the opportunity to either retract or amend your previous statement about, oh, come on, how many times can a guy get a chance? Would you like to change any of that?
No.
Okay. Well, Marcus, when is the last time you beat and choked a woman so savagely that you were charged with 2 felonies? That's okay to bring in a guy with 2 pending felonies? That doesn't say to the athlete, it doesn't matter what you do to somebody. It doesn't matter how bad you beat this woman. As long as you're good at football, you
Hey,
can
Andy,
come to
I
Alabama.
do think. Listen, I've been critical of Saban, but I think you're a lawyer. You understand these are allegations right now.
Oh, yeah, because anybody would be happy to bring someone with pending felonies into their program. If there was someone with a pending felony...
Well, let me hold on, Andy, give me 1 second, because I think Marcus is entitled to answer. I am shocked that Nick Saban took this player. I don't know why he did. He doesn't need him, and I think it puts Alabama in a potential serious black eye situation. I think the question was interesting. The fact that someone in the Alabama media or wherever the writer was from asked the question, and then the second writer or broadcaster was about to ask the very same question. It's an issue. It's the first time I've heard Saban deal with it. I don't think he really answered the question. I think he passed the buck. Marcus, I'll let you answer.
If me making that statement gave you the perception that I thought that was okay, that's totally false. Second to your question, and I understand the heartbeat behind it. My point is that in every facet of life, no matter the only reason you're emotional about this is because you know about it because this kid's a football player. But this happens all across the world. It happens in every phase of business, and which is so unfortunate, but it happens. And the only reason why you're so passionate and emotional about it is because this kid plays football. It's because you know about the story. So that's what plays into the emotional backlash that you feel about me making that statement. I'm making a true statement, a statement that happens in every facet of business, and guys get second chances on things that we may not feel.
But Marcus,
if you do that, Paul, in my opinion, you shouldn't have a chance to do it.
Don't they usually get the second chance? And Andy, you're welcome to jump in after they have either moved on from the legal system. And I don't think Taylor has done that yet.
Well,
it's a pending felony matter. If this was an Ohio State recruit, what would the narrative be on National Signing Day today?
It would be pretty
about
severe.
Urban Meyer?
I'll answer that, Andy. It would be very severe on Urban Meyer taking him.
Absolutely, but we're having a discussion about something that hasn't taken place yet. We are so quick. We just are. We are, Paul. We quick to convict before everything plays out.
I agree with you on that.
And I don't. If anybody's getting the perception that I'm okay with a guy beating his girlfriend,
I didn't.
It has nothing to do with that.
I know you.
But what I do want to explain is the fact that when you have a guy in this position and he's profiled like this and everybody knows about the situation that is pending, it's easy to get emotional about it. But it happens everywhere. Domestic violence is an issue for everybody. And if this guy did this to his girlfriend, does he deserve a second chance? That's not for me to say. That's not for anybody other than the people that's making that decision and him. But, you know, it's hard for me to be a person that can sit here and say that an action of a guy takes his whole life away and he doesn't have the ability to do anything else. I was playing for the Dallas Cowboys when one of my teammates, Josh Brent, drove home drunk and killed a teammate. On accident. Didn't do it on purpose, obviously, but he drove drunk. That was the bad act. He was on the field for the Cowboys this year. Your situation sometimes determine the rest of your life, but if you find somebody that gives you a second chance.
But Marcus, let me make one point. And Mark Richt obviously felt this young man had to go.
Yeah.
And I'm not making Mark Richt out to be a saint, but he didn't want Taylor to be anywhere near his program. He went to junior college. Nick Saban obviously has a different opinion. Nick Saban took a chance in his first year on a running back named Jimmy Johns. Didn't work out. The young man ended up going to prison.
Paul, let me ask you this, though. Legit question. You don't think every university in the country has dealt with this type of situation? It's just not known. Because it's Alabama, and because this is Nick Saban, and because of what the following is and everybody knowing what goes on, that's why the reaction is like that. The reaction should be like that everywhere. The reaction should be like that everywhere.
What was that, Andy?
He's out of his mind. everyone deals with this. It's just not known. With the microscope that's on all of the major colleges recruiting, you think there's a lot of players who signed today with pending felony charges of violence? That's what you're claiming? That's why it's okay because everyone deals with it?
I hate that you don't believe it, but I can guarantee you that most of the universities that you watch have dealt with a situation like this before.
Yeah. They dealt with them by not picking the players up. They dealt with them by winning their charges.
You have guys that have played on football teams that have been through the court system, that have committed and been found guilty of charges, but has been given the second chance to play for these universities. Don't get me wrong. I agree. I'm passionate about it just like you. I agree that it's a problem in a structure when a guy like this can go play football. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm the one that'll make a decision not to give a guy a second chance or to give him one. I don't condone it. Obviously, you don't condone it, but some people do. And we can say whatever we want to say about the decision makers and why would they let a guy like this be on their football team. We don't know everything that goes on to that.
Marcus, I'm aware of one player who recently was playing at a Big Ten school with a felony conviction, and that was Frank Clark, who went through a diversion program. And I don't know if you know what happened with Frank Clark this year, but he got thrown off the team for, again, savagely beating a woman who he was connected with. So that's the example that I know. How to work for Lawrence Phillips. Huh?
I agree. I totally agree with you, but it's both sides of the coin. It's both sides of the coin. Actually, Ray Rice has been reinstated and can sign with a football team, but it's both sides of the coin. The other side of the coin is that you have head coaches that absolutely no way will let a guy play for his university or not give him a chance, and you have another group of coaches that will allow guys to play football that have done things that no one is proud of. That's just the way it is. That's the way it is in college football. That's the way it is in pro football. You look at situations like this. Josh Gordon, the receiver for Cleveland, just got suspended another year for being on substances. And he got 3 chances. Yeah. This was his 3rd chance. And you know what, Paul? He's been suspended for 1 year. Next year, somebody's going to try to sign him. I mean, we deal with that landscape in football.
He also helped Cleveland to a big win.
Yeah, and I'm not giving it any credence, Andy. You have to understand that I'm with you. I understand where you're coming from. I totally understand it. Me as a person, if you beat your wife, you should pay the penalty, and you probably shouldn't have the ability to do what you love to do. But there are some people out there that feel like you should. And I'm not a guy to say everybody doesn't deserve a second chance. We all have something that we've done that probably would have taken away a big chunk of our future and what we're able to do. But it's different circumstances. You have to treat every one of these circumstances differently.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
We welcome you back to the program. It's certainly been an interesting one. We heard from Nick Saban earlier, and it sparked a great deal of debate. We'll hear from Gary Pinkel coming up shortly on what has been a very busy and dramatic news day on our program and across the land of college football. Let's continue with a few more calls. Daryl is next up in Columbus, Georgia. Daryl, good afternoon.
What's going on, Paul?
Doing great.
What's up, Marcus?
What's up, brother?
Let me say this first of all, okay? That wasn't that guy. This ain't the guy's second chance. He had 2 chances at Georgia. This is his 3rd chance. I mean, and in my opinion, okay, Nick Saban cares more about physical talent than he does character, okay? He cares more about your ability to be able to play football than he does character. That's fine. But at the next level, the NFL, they don't have to put up with that crowd. Character matters at the next level. They got plenty of great players, okay? We got plenty of those. Character does matter. And what did I hear Saban say about commitment? He said that speaks highly of what commitment means. I mean, do you remember the player, Paul, that was committed all the way to Auburn? Even got the Auburn tattoo, and on signing day a couple years ago, he committed with Alabama. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, would that speak highly of what commitment means?
Let me ask you a question, brother. Let me ask you a question. You said this is this kid's 3rd chance.
That's right.
Right. So what happened after the first time he did it? How did he get a second chance with Georgia?
Mark Richt gave him a second chance.
Daryl, I think that's the troubling part here. I have great respect for Mark Richt. Mark Richt went to the well for him, and at some point, either Mark Richt or people around him said, dump the guy. He's bad news.
Mark Richt felt like he was going, but had seen enough, okay?
Right.
That he felt like he was going to be a cancer to the program and had to get him out there. And I'll be straight up with you, dude. I'll tell you just like this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe at all that kid even has the GPA to go to get these colleges. I think college football has become corrupt big time on that part. I do not believe that these kids have the GPA to get in these schools. I think they're given scholarships based off football talent. I do not believe they got, because kids like that, when I was growing up, they didn't graduate from college, okay? They went to jail. And let me tell you, let me say this. Out in the real world, you do something like that, you don't get no second chance, dude. You do something like that, you get fired, okay? And ain't nobody else going to hire you. You do not. So I don't know what you're talking about. Out in the real world, it don't work like that. Hey, I will say this about the SEC, okay? All this, the SEC's done. We had 5 in the top 10. I mean, it doesn't look like we're done.
No, it was a big day, Daryl. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Jim is calling next. What do you say, Jim?
I got to agree with you, Paul. And, Marcus, I'm not coming against you. I understand your position. I understand where you're coming from as far as the faith, forgiveness, etc. But when the guy has done it twice and it's violent, Marcus, to that degree. And when it's something that violent to that degree done twice, no, he doesn't deserve it. And Nick Saban is looking like a thug himself by doing this, and that's my opinion, because he looks like, instead of wanting to help the guy, which only, as you said, only God can be the judge of what's in the heart of Nick Saban. But nevertheless, it looks like after the third time, if he's done it twice, it looks like Nick Saban is going out of his way to get a good player, regardless of the violent character in the guy, and that's going to come back and mess the team up. I heard Coach Bryant say many times in some replays that he did on the Dick Cavett show, he said if he didn't even suspend Namath, when Namath all he did was stay out late and drink a little bit, and the whole team was found doing worse things later, but Coach Bryant didn't know about it, but he still put Namath out of the last 3 games of the season and almost lost the national championship because of that. But that's the kind of coach Coach Bryant was, because here's what he said. He said, if I didn't do what I did to Namath, the whole team would have gone.
Well, Jim,
down.
you know the story. I'll tell it quickly. But he called Namath in, and he loved Namath like a son. He said, I'm going to resign as the head football coach at Alabama. And Joe Willie said, why are you doing that, Coach? He said, because I don't want to suspend you. I don't really feel like I can suspend you. But if I don't suspend you, then I have to resign because I'm violating my principles. And, of course, he forced Namath, you've seen this movie before, to make the decision himself, saying, well, Coach, then you need to suspend me right now.
And another great story about that, Paul, was that Coach Stallings is the only coach that stood up against Namath and said, Coach Bryant, you're right. We've got to put the guy out of the last 3 games. I stand with you. The rest of the coaches wanted to let it go. See, that's the kind of society we got now, Marcus. The kind of society that will produce people like Aaron Hernandez, who played for the guy that's never a national championship coach. And that's bad stuff, Marcus. Bad stuff in my opinion.
Jim, listen, don't let my comments for one bit make you believe that I wouldn't maybe make a different decision. But the condition.
Then you can't go any further with your statement now, Marcus, because you're going to contradict yourself from this point on.
Listen to what I'm saying.
I'm listening.
Jim. Where I'm coming from is a player that has been in locker rooms and around a bunch of football players that have had the ability to have a second chance, and some even third chances, and they got it right. And I've seen the bad side of it also. So when I talk about what Coach Saban is doing with this player, or what I talk about with any coach in the country doing, giving a player a second and a third chance, it comes from a place of me seeing this happen out time and time again. Some of those situations ended up bad. Some the guy actually got on the right path.
You made your statement. I got to pick up on what you just said. You said second and third chance.
Absolutely.
Well, no, you're wrong, Marcus. You're wrong. After the second chance, and he does it the second time, and it's violent behavior. No, sir, baby. No,
Jim,
sir.
How am I wrong? How am I wrong? How am I wrong based on what I've seen?
I wouldn't have that guy on my team after the second chance.
Jim, you or I may not have had that guy.
Well,
we have different convictions and different
mentalities. You're contradicting yourself every time you speak.
I've never had to make a decision on the guy having a second or a third chance.
After a third chance, you would do it.
Jim,
Which
I've never
is it,
coached.
Marcus?
I've
What
never
you do?
coached a football team. I've never had to make a decision about a guy
Yeah,
having
you
a
shouldn't
second or a
condone
third
this type
chance.
of behavior, Marcus.
I'm not condoning it. That's where
You are.
fall.
You are
That's where you
condoning it.
fall off the cliff with the whole
No, Marcus,
conversation.
you're defending this. You're
I'm not
defending Nick
defending
Saban's
it.
decision, and it's wrong. No, you
Okay.
really are, Marcus.
All right,
I like you,
Jim.
baby.
Okay.
I like your
Okay.
flag, but you're wrong.
All right.
I know you're
All right.
wrong.
I'm not in the conversation to be right or wrong with you. I'm just trying to explain to you what I've seen over the time that I've played football. And the decision that Coach Saban make, maybe I don't agree with it. Maybe I do, but that's beside the point. Coach Saban made the decision. I'm not on trial for making the decision to letting the guy have a third chance. All I'm saying is that I've seen this before, and I've seen it go bad, and I've seen it go the right way. But whatever Coach Saban does, I'm not sticking up for Coach Saban. He's a grown man. He has his own thought process behind the decision he made to let this kid play football. I'm trying to give you both sides of the coin and tell you what I've seen from my experience. Would the guy be on my football team as a head coach? Absolutely not.
Have they got my sound turned down? Because every time he talks, I think he's contradicting himself, and nobody's hearing me.
We hear you.
Jim, nothing I've said to you in this conversation contradicts anything I
Hey,
said.
by the way, Jim, someone mentioned, we both mentioned Gene Stallings, but in 1992,
I know.
Gene Stallings
Antonio
allowed David
Langham.
Palmer
I know,
3
Paul.
chances.
I know about Antonio Langham. That was dead wrong.
I don't want to argue the amount of chances. I want to get people to see that different coaches make different decisions.
And I said at the time in a column, I thought I thought Stallings was selling out his team to win a national championship, which he did.
I agree. I think he did too. But Paul, I'm gonna tell you something. When I heard about the third chance, I might go along with the first chance, but really I wouldn't for that kind of violent behavior. No, sir. Not in college. Let them do what they want to do in the nasty football league. Not in college, Paul. Not in college. But when I found out just now from Darryl that it's his third chance, no, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Thank you,
That's
Jim.
all I got.
We're
Thanks,
at the
Jim.
break. Much more to come on this, what had been National Signing Day special. It's deviated, to say the least. Don't go anywhere.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
And we welcome you back to our program on National Signing Day. We'll try to get some more calls in here, and let's check in with Ron down in Ocala, Florida, not too far from the University of Florida. What's up, Ron?
Hey, what's going on, Paul?
Doing great, thank you.
Great to hear. What's up, Marcus?
Ron, what's up, man?
Man, chilling. I'm glad to hear from you. I always wanted to get a chance to call when you would be on here. Paul, got two things, and if you give me a chance, I'll comment on what they've been talking about with this situation with Nick Saban and everything.
Go right ahead.
I got a proposition for you. So, I've been telling you about Florida doing what they were going to do. So I was wondering if we handle Tennessee, and if we do that, will you go ahead and wear a Gator jersey the Monday after that Saturday? And
Ron, I've given up doing that kind of thing. However, because it's personal here, it's my school, and I've been popping off. Gators beat Tennessee this year. I'll wear a Gator jersey to the show on Monday.
And I want John, if we catch the East, I want John to put a Gator jersey on too.
Well, that won't happen.
When he get down with that, he can get one on too. I know he's LSU, but he can get one too.
Me, I've been saying it.
Ron, I don't know if they have any jerseys that fit me.
And the reason I've agreed to wear the Gator jersey, I just want a Gator jersey. I mean, it has nothing to do with the bet. It just has everything to do with wanting to wear a Gator jersey. Let's go to K-Dub next in Alabama. What's up,
We
K-Dub?
definitely know they got some to fit bees. They got your size and all colors and shades.
They got my size at the University of Florida bookstore in the kids department.
They have Paul size at Baby Gap.
Toys R Us.
You right on that, big swagoo. Hey, let me chime in and kind of, and not. I think me and you kind of the same type of brother and same type of spirit. I just really feel that you were trying to come from a place. But look, I'm not on trial here, ladies and gentlemen. That's Nick Saban's decision. Where he eats, I don't poop out, So I can't tell you what the next man do. I can just, sit back and, give my opinion. And my opinion is, I mean, some people in life may deserve a second and third chance. Some people in life may don't. And I think you kind of the same spirit as I is saying. I think, you know, the man above, and some people have different faiths, but I think the man above always intervenes in some kind of way to make it, you know, work out in the end. I mean, who's to say he might not ever play it down at Alabama?
Yeah.
I mean,
there could be a reason for that.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Saban took Deron Carter. Look what all this trouble Deron Carter had, and he never played it down at Alabama. So, I mean,
but let me say, but Deron Carter, though, I think he got some goodwill out of that because he schmoozed Chris Carter for a couple of years.
I'm trying to be
But
serious.
Caleb, I feel you, man, and I understand. And like you said, I'm not gonna take the brunt for somebody else's decision. I just always try to get people to look at both sides of the coin, man. Because if it's a tails on that coin, it's a heads on the other side. And you have to be, as an analyst, you want to have an opinion, and you want to have an educated opinion, and you want to be objective. And it's different situations when you have conversations with people of what type of climate it is. The excitement level and people getting emotional or mad at me, that doesn't bother me. But let's have a civil conversation about what we're talking about. And the fact that I'm wrong, I'm not in a place to be wrong because it's not my decision.
Correct. And people fail to realize that part. That is so correct. It's not your decision to make. I'm just giving the opinion, right or wrong. Who's to say whether I'm right or wrong? It'll all pan out at the end.
That's it.
Look, let me say one more thing. I know time running out for me, and I appreciate you. And I seen you at the game right there on the 10-yard line. You had your little woman security guard there. I was trying to see what was up with that. Yeah, I see. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
That was at the Superdome.
Guard.
They assigned her to, and she a bad lady too, bro. she can fight. No.
Hey, what's up with this love, fan? I like how we do things. We low key. We gonna get a play. It's gonna be low key. This whole war room at Auburn and Gus Malzahn and Will Muschamp jumping up, hugging and kissing each other, tongue kissing each other, and feeling on each other booties and all that.
Birdman and Lil Wayne. Relationship. Sometimes them good looking relationships can end bad, man.
You see what Weezy at now? He ain't with Baby no more, so we'll see how this Baby and Wayne situation go with
all is good. All is good till the ball kicked off.
Yeah, so man, this whole war room and all this jumping up and kissing each other.
Well, you know the thing about the war room in Tuscaloosa, you know this, K-Dub. Saban won't let anyone in there. You don't go in there unless you have the keys to the kingdom. At Auburn, it's on national television.
Man, look, we don't have no war room, man. Those guys down there are already in the weight room right now. Why y'all signing and having parties and hugging and kissing? We in the weight room, baby. Appreciate it, Bees. We work.
Yeah, and by the way, just to update, a lot of folks joining us, and I'm sure we'll have some more updates along the way, but Alabama clinched the national championship in recruiting. According to ESPN, they didn't come in first in Rivals. I don't really follow anything other than ESPN. I'm not allowed to. It's blocked on my computer. But Rivals named Southern Cal #1. All that tells you is that Sarkisian, a year and 3 months after Lane Kiffin was fired, is getting it done.
Absolutely.
In SoCal.
Absolutely. And look, that's not a hard draw.
No.
You know, they had some sanctions that they had to get over, and
they lost Snoop's son.
Yeah, he did. That was surprising. I mean, Snoop has been USC since I was a kid.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, we always hear Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, LSU, but UCLA's a nice campus. That's at the foot of Beverly Hills.
I'm so glad I didn't take a visit to Southern California.
I mean, SC's got the rep, but it's in the wrong part of town. Westwood, you drive about a block from Westwood, and you're at George Clooney's house.
Hey, my son going to take a recruiting visit to UCLA.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
It's all over but the shouting, but there has been a lot going on as we head to the final hour of our All-day coverage of National Signing Day. Alabama clipped the #1 ranking as expected. It was a wild dash and a wild run for the #1 player in the country. He is Byron Cowart. He announced 9:15 Eastern time today that he is heading to Auburn, but it wasn't until about 4 o'clock before Auburn received the official letter. For a while, it looked like he might join some of his running buddies from the state to flip back to Florida, but apparently Will Muschamp, the former Florida coach, worked a little late-day magic. That's certainly among the stories, but to say the least, the biggest story of recruiting has been the SEC's dominance. Again, not unexpected, and it just kept on all day long. USC certainly had a big day, so did UCLA, a lot of other schools, but the SEC ruled.
Paul, I got my Skittles.
You're looking good.
I'm just here so I won't get fined. Nah, it's been a great day. It's been a great day for the SEC. Like we talked about, it has been for a while now, and I think it continues to promote the brand of the SEC. And these kids understand that if I'm going to play elite competition, and if the next level is going to have an eye on me, this is probably the best conference to play in from top to bottom when you talk about the talent pool. And I think you see that year in, year out. That's why these schools are ending up at the top of recruiting classes. But it's great that you have these schools mixed in. It's great that you have USC with a high recruiting class, Ohio State. It's great because of the college football playoff. And now you get a chance to see if that parity carries over. Obviously, Ohio State did the best job recruiting the year before, 2 years ago and the year before last, because they did national championships, and that equated to that. So we'll see. It all plays out in January is what it really does.
Huge day for the Auburn Tigers and the head coach at Auburn, Gus Malzahn, with our Ryan McGee.
Okay, here on the Plains, I'm proud to report that Fax Machine Watch 2015 is over. Coach, you made it a little dramatic for us there. You actually got your fax from Byron Cowart just moments before you walked into your previously scheduled press conference, right?
Yeah, timing couldn't have been much better. You know, I was walking down the hall, and, Will gave me the heads up, hey, we got it. So, the timing couldn't have been better.
Well, walk us through your day, because out here in the rest of the world, it got a little dramatic with everybody wondering what was going on. What was it like in the room waiting to nail this class down?
Yeah, we felt very good about it all day, and obviously it didn't come in exactly, early as we were expecting, but we felt very good about it. There wasn't any panic. That's where you wanted to be, and we knew it, and we're glad to finally have it over with.
All right, 25 players, 12 defense, 12 offense, and a kicker. That's about as balanced as you can get. Is that what you were shooting for?
Yeah, it really was. Defensively, guys to rush the passer. I mean, that was really our focus. We needed some cover guys. We feel like we got that accomplished. Offensively, a couple receivers, which we feel very good about that. And we needed some depth up front, on the offensive line. And then you throw the punter in there, and it's pretty balanced.
We talked this morning about the needs, and you talked a lot about defense. And you mentioned it first thing in the press conference, particularly rushing the passer. You feel a lot better about that tonight than you did this morning?
Yeah, I sure do. That was one of our deficiencies last year. And of course, we got Carl coming back, and we add these guys that can really rush the passer. I know Will's feeling very good about it right now, and that'll be very well for Saturdays next fall.
Okay, now you mentioned Will a couple times. I didn't bring him up. How big of an impact was it to bring him onto this staff to get this class together?
Well, it was huge. He got us in the game with guys we weren't in the game with until he's hired. And, he's the best defensive mind in all of football, I believe. And I think players see that, and they want to play for a guy like that. So the future's very bright on the defensive side of the football.
All right, the enthusiasm in the war room. I was there when Cowart made his announcement. It happened again when the facts came in. A great class for Auburn.
McGee with Gus Malzahn. We'll get your reaction to all of that at 855-242-7285. Don't think there's much left on the recruiting front, but if anything changes, or if one of those letter of intents has invisible ink, we will break in to basketball later this afternoon. Rich is next in Atlanta. Rich, thanks for the phone call.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for taking the call. And thanks, Marcus, for being on the show. Really enjoyed listening to you. It's great. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you,
hey,
man.
Paul, can I ask you a quick question, Paul?
Sure.
Regarding Taylor, Okay, is there a small detail we're missing that, to the best of my knowledge, he's been charged, not convicted? Isn't that correct?
Well, that is absolutely correct.
Okay, so why all the overreaction? Why all the because there is something called due process, right?
No, listen. I think we're all aware of that. I think Nick Saban can do whatever he chooses. The fact that probably the one coach in America that doesn't need to do this did it opens up questions. He was asked about it today for the first time that I've heard. He answered it, and we simply reacted. It's really as simple as that, Rich.
Okay, no, I get all that. I'm just saying, won't the courts ultimately decide the fate of this?
Well,
young guy?
thank goodness there is due process, and this isn't. If this was the NFL, we know where we would be right now.
Right, Roger Goodell would be handling it. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't want the facts to get in the way of everyone.
I think a fair point is, and everyone does things differently. Why did Mark Richt, who has given players many chances in the past, and I'm told by people in Athens that he gave this young man a second chance, and he finally ran him off. Just because Mark Richt ran him off doesn't mean that it won't work. It would be a great story if it pans out. That's assuming he's able to work his way through the legal system.
Correct. And the second charge, Paul, it's important, was the domestic violence. To hear some of the previous callers, they would make it sound like it was twice he did the same offense. No. Allegedly. It was just once. So anyway, enough of that. But, hey, real quick, seeing USC's recruiting class, how great is it going to be, the Alabama-USC game in 2 years?
Coming up a year from now.
Awesome.
Yeah, isn't that great?
I just went on StubHub and bought 2 tickets.
You know what's neat, real quick? I don't want to take too much time. Depending on how Coker, if he earns the job or not, you will wind up, Kessler came back at USC, so you're going to wind up with 2 new quarterbacks, if you will, starting their first game against Alabama's defense and USC's defense. How cool is that?
Very. That game is in Dallas, I believe.
It's in Dallas.
Yeah, that's correct.
We'll be there.
Can you,
all right, thanks
can
again,
you put me
Paul.
up?
All right, Rich.
Thanks. Let's continue with more phone calls. And Larry is up next in Alabama. Larry?
Unquit.
Oh, I thought you
Can
quit
I
the
do
show.
that?
You
Can
can
I take my
unquit.
quit?
We are benevolent souls here, Larry. You're right. We officially unquit you.
Welcome.
And you know the problem. You remember that movie? Remember Brokeback Mountain? The guy said
I never saw it.
I quit you. Larry, you cannot quit this show. It's just not possible. Why did I make you uncomfortable by mentioning Brokeback Mountain?
I didn't get uncomfortable. I just said I never saw it. You made a reference, and I thought.
No, you did get uncomfortable. You know how I know? You stopped eating your Skittle for a second.
Because I didn't want to be smacking while Larry was talking.
Thank you, Mr. Swagoo.
Thank you,
Hey, man, I'm addicted, man. It's like crack.
Glad you're back, Larry. All forgiven.
All right, my brother.
Larry, don't leave again, man.
All right, man. I just went a meltdown. It's my party. I can cry if I want.
Larry, gotta love Larry. Two folks who have quit the show are back tonight. Hal is next in Georgia. Good evening, Hal.
Well, hey, Paul, good to talk to you again. Shout out to John. And I'm also feeling blessed to be able to talk to Marcus since you're on here.
Thank you, Hal. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. You're one person that I always see and give everything you got. I want to also say I'm proud to be a Georgia Bulldog, but I want to chime in on what's going on with our athlete, one of our ex-athletes, again, that we've seen many years here at Georgia leave. And I think the biggest problem is there's not a level playing field. When these athletes mess up and keep messing up, and they can jump from school to school without suffering the real consequences of it.
Well, hold on. This guy went to junior college. He just didn't walk out of Athens and take a limo to Tuscaloosa.
Well, I know that he just went to a junior college, but we can go on with the Nick Marshalls and all the players that went to Louisville and Auburn last year.
Georgia has been good to the rest of college football.
Well, I mean, there just needs to be some kind of standard. If you mess up, say if I'm in Alabama and I get in trouble, my suspension for whatever that school decides.
Let me interrupt you, Hal. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but there's no uniformity here. I'm not sure how there ever could be. These are individual schools, and in this case, nothing's even happened yet other than charges.
That alludes to what I was saying earlier, and I appreciate Hal saying that. Everybody makes decisions based off of a different sheet. And, so Coach Rick, kudos to him. When he stands firm on his standards, he gets rid of guys. And look, Georgia program hasn't suffered because you could say they have, but they've had a lot of success. Yeah. They've still been able to recruit great players, and they've had great players throughout the ranks for years and years. But Hal, what you said is what my point was earlier, is that these guys they don't all work off the same sheet. They don't all have the same values and convictions and standards. And whether that's right or wrong, I'm not going to judge it, but it's some things that Coach Saban will do that I won't do. It's some things that Coach Rick will do that I wouldn't do, or react to certain types of situations. So I think you just have to play it out individually.
One thing I will say in defense of Saban, he can take the heat because there isn't going to be much, but he can take whatever there is, and he doesn't care. I mean, he hopes for the best. And listen, I don't know the facts of the case. I just know what the charges are. They're serious charges, and that specific charge inflames people. I mean, the young man would have been better off if he was accused of robbing a bank than domestic violence in the culture and the climate that we currently live in.
Thank you for listening to the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast. Tune into the Paul Finebaum Show every day from 3 to 7 Eastern on the SEC Network or on the ESPN radio app.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.